Hey, what's up, everybody? As always, if you can hear me, say hello. I'm just going to set a message here. Welcome to class number 3. Uh, Give me an indication in the chat you can hear me. Thumbs up. Number 1, say hey. Yes, Peter, I'm getting you. No, Peter, you don't look like a mime. Awesome. What's up, Inga, Amy, Heather? What's going on? Glad you made it. Joel, what's up? Jared, what's going on? Um, Hopefully you can all hear me because I'm going to get going here. I was just taking a look at the curriculum earlier today, and I was like, wow, we have a lot to get through in class number 3. Class number 5. So I'm going to dive right in because we have a lot to cover. So hopefully y'all won't be late. What's up, Ashley? Thanks for joining. Michelle, what's up? All right, so believe it or not, we are at class number 3. We have so far gone through understanding your mindset, understanding yourself, and today we're going to get into mastery. We're going to master your mindset and develop some really great tools, and a lot of them. Hopefully you have been using and experimenting with the things that we've covered so far. They are fairly powerful. Today, we're going to recover the law of attraction, just to touch on it in case you missed the webinar, or to brush up if you did catch the webinar. We're going to go over affirmations. We're going to talk about why everyone messes them up. We're going to talk about vision boards. And finally, we're going to talk about the types of motivation and how to get yourself motivated to do the shit you don't want to do, which is really cool. So let me jump right in. If you recall from the webinar, we talked a great deal about law of attraction and how it's not a real law. Listen, maybe it is. I mean, I'm not, a metaphysicist by any means, but from what I have seen, this isn't like gravity or some natural phenomenon. What it is it's just plain old clarity. It's uncovering all the crap that we've put onto ourselves, being very clear about where we want to go, and then creating our own luck. If you recall, I talked about an experiment, excuse me, where people in the study, unbeknownst to them, they were asked to do one simple task, which is count the number of pictures in a newspaper. Excuse me. Can't die tonight, Peter. I got too much to do. And beforehand, they had asked the respondents a simple question. Do you think of yourself as a lucky person or not? The people who said, yeah, I'm a lucky person, they got all the pictures right. They knew how many pictures were in the newspaper, and they got done a lot faster than the rest of the people. How? Because if you recall from the study, there was an ad placed on the inside of page 2 that said, stop reading. There are 57 pictures in this newspaper. Write down 57 and you're all done. And the people who said they were not lucky ahead of time missed it. They were too busy looking down. While the lucky people were looking up. They were looking for opportunity. And time and again, I'm dying here. I need to law of attract my cough away. Time and again, I've heard of entrepreneurial stories that have used essentially luck and created their own luck to do extraordinary things. And that is exercising the law of attraction, right? Envisioning something happening and then looking for it and looking for shortcuts, okay? If you recall, the law of attraction, taking advantage of it, is all about micro actions and micro decisions. If you have accepted that you are clear about a goal and you're going to move towards it, then what happens is you make all kinds of little tiny adjustments. If you recall from the webinar, we talked about networking and how, if you stay just a couple extra minutes longer, meet just a couple more people, that is infinitely growing the odds that you're going to meet the person that you're trying to meet, and the person that can move your business forward. So it's all those kind of micro actions and micro decisions that you make because you feel empowered. You feel like this law is working for you. You feel lucky, okay? And what happens? Well, a lot of time I have people that who are like, okay, yeah, law of attraction, that makes sense. I'm going to do it. But listen, there are a lot of challenges, mental challenges here. And in particular, your self-limiting beliefs that we talked about last time are going to just jump all over you, disguised as logic, convincing you that it doesn't work and it's not going to work for you and you're an exception because you suck so badly. You don't. You're not special. No offense, but the world isn't coming to get you. In fact, the world can be here to help you if you accept that perspective in your mind. And what happens? We panic, right? What if it doesn't come true? It's not coming true fast enough. And then we doubt everything we're doing. Oh, it's not working. I knew this was BS. I should never have done, like, downward spiral, right? And so we want to make the law of attraction work for you, not get into those downward spirals. So here is a framework that I want to teach you, to give to you, to get yourself out of those downward spirals and make the law of attraction work for you instead of against you. And it's called the facts, feelings, and wants exercise. Okay, facts, feelings, and wants. No matter what is happening, okay, let's say you've decided you're going to law of attract more money next month. And then you see this first shred of evidence, like you have a client leave or a customer doesn't buy you. And all of a sudden you're in this panic mode. Like, oh my gosh, the world is falling. The law of attraction doesn't work. Okay, just stop for a moment and do the facts, feelings, and wants exercise. Very simple, okay? First, what are the facts? Write them down, okay? What are the facts? I had a client leave me, or that customer bought elsewhere, or whatever, okay? Just the facts, that's all. Then go to feelings. How do you feel about it? You're sad, you're glad, you're whatever, okay? And then finally, after you've done facts and feelings, what do you want? What do you want? It's as simple as that, okay? And the reason I want you to do this is because I need to dissociate in your mind facts from feelings. Because you and I and everybody, we have a tendency to weave them together into this one truth, this story that we believe is true, even though it's not. There is the thing, the fact, the thing that's happening, and then there's how we feel about it. And typically the thing that happens is like, one tiny thing, and then how we feel about it blows it way out of proportion. This has ever happened to you, let me know. So the reason why I want you to physically separate them and write them down is so that you can see that, man, I apologize, folks. That was all good until I started talking. Okay, I want you to see that they're like two different things, and that over one thing, over the fact, you may or may not have control. Over the feelings, you have 100% control. And this class is about mental control. So then finally, the reason why I want you to ask yourself, what do I want? Is because that's the thing that should be most important, right? If something small happens to you, like a client leaves you, you feel terrible about it. Well, what do you want? You want more clients. All right, then forget the facts, forget the feelings, and move towards what you want. Okay? It's that simple. And yet, what do? Right? You know the answer. You sit and stew in it, and that's good for no one. That is not making the law of attraction work for you, because as you're stewing in it, guess what you're not doing? Going out and getting what you want. Okay? Now, a big piece of this is monitoring your temporal state. Temporal is a fancy word for time. Okay? And I want you to remember the power of act as if, which we've talked about throughout the whole class because it's so important, okay? Most people, the vast majority of people, are either past or future oriented. They're either stuck dwelling in the past and they go over past events over and over and over and over and over again. Think of any time you've been laid off or fired by a client, and something terrible happens, what do? You lay awake at night and you play the conversation over and over and over again. That is being past oriented. That is terrible for moving forward towards what you want, okay? And on the other hand, just as terrible is living in a future oriented state, okay? This is where you start to have delusions of like, oh, I know I'm going to be rich beyond my wildest dreams 12 months from now, so I'm just going to spend 10 grand on this vacation that I really can't afford. That's not what the law of attraction is about, okay? That's just crazy town, okay? If you're past oriented, then you're stuck. If you're future oriented, you're going to make terrible decisions, okay? Instead, I need you to be in the present at all times, because this isn't acting as if you were or acting as if you will be. This is acting as if you are in the present moment, in the decision you're making now, okay? So we're going to talk later about affirmations, and I want you to remember this temporal state, because the law of attraction is functioning when, like right now, where you are. Okay, you can't do anything about the past, and the future is too far away. Many people, particularly entrepreneurs, have sunk themselves living in a future state. Oh, this is going to blow up, and I'm going to get 10,000 customers, and it's going to be hockey stick growth. So I'm going to go raise $1 million. And some idiot gives them $1 million, and what do? They waste all of it because they were too far over their skis. Have you ever heard that expression? That's what this means, too far over your skis. Okay, so here's the deal about acting in the present and these micro actions and micro decisions. There are things you can do to test this theory without any risk to your logical brain, okay? And it goes like this. Ask yourself what micro actions or micro decisions you can make that cost you absolutely nothing, cost you zero, okay? And we've talked about mental trickery and how a lot of this is. And the thing is, like, if you're at all doubtful about whether you should be living in the present state, acting as if, believing that the law of attraction can work for you, however you define it, okay, then think to yourself for a moment, and I want you to write this down. If it's not hurting me, why don't I just try this, do this, think this, right? At your next networking event or your next customer interaction, it's not going to kill you to do that next step, that little micro action or micro decision that may make a huge impact in reality and costs you nothing mentally, and that could be as small as when your next customer walks through the door, believe you're going to act as if you've already landed that customer. How would you act? How would the interaction go? Okay, it's not going to cost you anything, so you may as well try it. And there's a lot of things as you think to yourself like, oh, I could really use an easier time with my child next month. Like, my child was just like crazy this month, and it was so hard to deal with her. And next month, that's going to be easier, and our relationship's going to get stronger. Throw it up to the law of attraction. I'm acting as if that's true. Because why not? It doesn't cost you anything. Even if you think it's stupid, just like go with it. All right? See what happens. Okay? Because the thing is, if you haven't achieved every single thing you want in life, then I guess you have nothing to lose. Okay? And that goes for all of the mental frameworks that I'm teaching you. If what you're doing right now has made you a perfectly happy multimillionaire, you don't need this stuff. And if it hasn't yet, let's just try it. Let's just try it. Okay? So that's my offer to you. All right, let's dive into affirmations, because affirmations can be critical to your mental health, and everybody messes them up, and I don't understand why. So I want to make sure you don't mess them up. Just give me a number 2 in the chat if you're still with me. So I'm like not frozen talking to myself. And then we're going to move on to affirmations. And of course, if you have questions throughout this time, or I say something and you're like, that doesn't make sense, or can you clarify, or whatever, then by all means, pop them in the chat. Awesome. I can see you're all with me. Thank you. Okay, so let's go into creating your affirmations. Affirmations are for one thing and one thing only, and we're going to spend some time on this, okay? Affirmations are to remind yourself where you were always naturally destined to go in the first place. Let me say that again, because it's really important. Affirmations are to remind yourself where you were always naturally destined to go, okay? Another way to say this, as you heard from my potential energy talk in the webinar, the point of an affirmation is to remove the bullshit you have inserted between you and your goals, and then to forgive yourself for putting it there in the first place. That's what an affirmation's for, okay? And we're going to go through like good, bad, okay? To create them, and this is, again, a writing exercise, very difficult to do in your head, ask yourself, what negative things do you believe about yourself, about your life, about your business, okay? These can be anything, free form, write them down. And then go back, flip back a couple pages. Hopefully you've been working on your core values and your values hierarchy. And ask yourself a very important question. Are your values in conflict with your mindset? Okay. For instance, you may have a core value of excellence and always delivering excellence. And in the meantime, you may have a, right, that's your core value. And then in your mind, you may walk away from work every day thinking, gosh, I suck. I'm not excellent at all. I have so much to work on. And so what you have in your head is this awful feedback loop because those two things are in conflict. All right. Give you another one. One of your core values could be happiness. That's an easy one. And yet every day you beat yourself up and make yourself unhappy because you haven't achieved what you're trying to achieve. That's a core value and mindset out of balance. Okay. And so we want to rectify that with an affirmation, right? And the key question here is, what are some affirmations you should be saying to yourself that should be true, should naturally be true, and you want them to be true, but for some reason you don't yet believe them. You've put them in conflict with yourself. Okay. And that is the question. Flora, Amy, you guys will get slides right after this class. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to send them out. But I'll send you a class 3 and 4 right after this. So this is the question. What are some affirmations that should be true and you want them to be true, but you don't yet believe them? That's where your affirmations lie, okay? That is very different than wishing, hoping, dreaming about something that is honestly not true and probably never will be. That's not what an affirmation is, okay? And that's where most people go wrong. Most people are like, I'm going to create an affirmation. I own a Lamborghini. No, you don't, and you probably never will, okay? That's not realistic. Like, you weren't predestined to own a Lamborghini. Probably, maybe. But there are other better ways to use these more effectively. And I want you to think about SMART goals, right? So just to recap what SMART goals are, they're specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely. Now, your affirmations don't need to be all these things. They don't need to be any of them, but they're going to be better if they're a little specific, a little measurable, a little actionable, a little relevant. Timely, you definitely don't want timely because you want your affirmations to be kind of about your life as a whole. And you always want to be in the present tense. Back to, don't be past oriented, don't be future oriented, stay in the present tense. And yes, Jared, everyone's getting slides after this. Okay, so, I put the SMART goals up just to remind you that you can be a little more specific and actionable with these affirmations. You don't have to be, but it's to help hone your thinking, okay? Always in the present tense. So here are some affirmations that suck. Do not do this. I am worth billions, right? I am always state in the present tense. The odds are not in your favor that you're going to be a billionaire. Maybe you will, but it's a stretch. And in stretching your mind, you're going to consistently disagree with your affirmation, and that's not going to help you. That's anti-law of attraction. Your logical brain is going to fight it and fight it and fight it. And we don't want to fight nature here, okay? I am invincible. No, you're not invincible. So that's not an affirmation. I can control anything. I'm sorry, you actually can't control everything. Most people can barely control themselves. And things like, I never get sad. Like, don't use the negative tense, okay? Affirmations are about positivity. And here's the thing, as I said, if you don't believe your affirmations, you're faking it. And we don't fake it. We act as if, all right? Hopefully that's making sense to you. All right, so here's how we go about creating affirmations and the types of affirmations. And again, this is the key question. What are some affirmations that should be true and you want them to be true, but you don't believe them yet, okay? They could be time related. They could be money related. They might be health related, okay? If you really want to emphasize your health. They could be mindset related. This is going to be a big one for many of you. I am someone who can think positively anytime I want. That's a great affirmation. They could be physical. They could be emotional. I can control my emotions whenever I like. They could be spiritual. There's really no wrong answer to the types of affirmations you create. They're really about your life and how you picture your life. So here are some of the right ways to do this, okay? If they're time related, you may want to have an affirmation that says, I am a punctual person every time. You can be punctual. You can be on time. Maybe they're money related, in which case you want to say something like, I have plenty of money to achieve all my goals. That's a great affirmation. Okay. They might be health related. I do one thing for my health every single day. That's an example of that. And then you do, and you will, and you should. Mindset related. I have 100% control over my reactions to others. That's a great mindset affirmation if that's something you struggle with. Remember, these are things that should be true and you want them to be true, but for some reason you just fought yourself on it. Physical. I don't let pain get in the way of taking the stairs. It's entirely within your control. You can do that. Emotional. I can influence the emotions of those around me. You actually can do that. I'm going to teach you how later. Or spiritual. I can feel at peace whenever I choose. Or I can feel at peace at 6:30 a.m. every day. That is specific. What is that saying? What is that committing? It's committing that at 6:30 a.m. every day, you will take a moment, could be 30 seconds, to feel at peace. That's a commitment and a habit. That's the type of habit that's going to lead you to a much more enlightened and happy and controllable emotional state. That's how you use affirmations. Heather, what about I am financially free? I think it's a little broad. I mean, financially free means so much to so many people. If you have a vivid picture of what that means, then I think, okay. But I would argue that like the people whom I know who have reached financial freedom, some reached it way later than they thought. Others reached it way earlier than they thought. And the reason why I bring that up is I have friends who built, and sold for 10 million and realized that they were really wealthy at 3 million. I have friends who sold for 20 million and still feel poor. So that's why like financially free to me seems so broad that you might have trouble picturing what that is. And if you're financially free, how do you act, right? And would you act differently? Are you going to overspend? Like, you don't want to give yourself permission to live in a future state. You just want to put yourself in the present state with things you can control anytime you want. Does that make sense? Okay. And these are a little tough. So if you're like, I don't quite get it, that's okay. You can go back through the slides once I send them later and back through this video, of course. But take a look at some of the ones on the screen. Even the money related one I've chosen here. I have plenty to achieve all my goals. Now that's broad, yes, but it also isn't about a dollar value, right? It's about empowering you to move confidently forward, doing whatever you're doing. Because if I told you, oh, you act like those goals you have plenty of money to achieve those, what would you do? You would breathe a sigh of relief. You'd be like, wow, well, that feels better. That's a weight off my shoulders. Well, if that's true, then I guess I'll just get up in the morning, do everything I was going to do, but I'll just feel better about it because I don't have to stress. That's the power of an affirmation. That's what an affirmation can do to your mindset. This is about trickery, people. I told you. They're not about lying to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. They're about improving your habits and consistently reminding yourself that you are in a state of improvement and that you're empowered. Okay. The question I want you to ask is, where are you going to write these things down? Where are you going to write them down that you look at them every day? And or there might be key times of day where you want to make sure you look at these, like in my 6:30 a.m. example. And if you disobey them, if you find that you just can't get up the comeuppance to believe in these affirmations, move them around, try to change them, and by all means, don't panic and don't punish yourself. Okay, don't punish yourself. Because remember, we're trying to shortcut you to success by just observing, oh, okay, that affirmation, I'm fighting it. I got to work on that. Is that true? Why? Make a micro adjustment, gain more control. Control yields more confidence. Confidence is the name of the game. Confidence is it. If you feel confident, you feel successful, you are successful. Case closed. End of story. That's all. Simple, perhaps not easy. All right. If there are any questions, let me know. We're going to flip over to vision boards. So a vision board, very fascinating. Of all the things that I thought were kind of like voodoo, a vision board is one of them. You would not have caught me dead with a vision board maybe half a decade ago. I finally started using one a year and a half ago, and I was completely blown away by how quickly and how true the contents of my vision board just like sprang to life. I was shocked. And now I tell everyone about it that I can, which is a tough conversation because it's like, oh my gosh, you should get a vision board. And people look at me like I sound like a moron. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you guys. I can't tell you how it works. I can't tell you why. I can just tell you that it does work. It's worked for me. It's worked for many others that I've learned this from, who finally convinced me. And like I said, I was blown away. So if some of you have a vision board, let me know. Give me a thumbs up or a number one. So we're just going to go over kind of do's and don'ts because, like affirmations, there is a wrong way to do this, and then it's going to sit on your wall and not work, or even worse, make your life, worse. So here's the thing about vision boards. Uh, Vision boards are all about a snapshot you can look at to see what your life looks and feels like. Okay, looks and feels like. Now, the thing is, when you sit down to make your board, you are naturally going to be inclined to bring your self-limiting beliefs to the party, and they have no seat at this table. Okay, when you're making your vision board, really picture, envision your life, and don't let yourself go like, oh, like I really love this car, but no, I probably won't be able to afford that. I'll be able to afford this one. Like, no, none of that. Okay, none of that. And just like your affirmations, okay, uh, try to be specific and relevant and actionable. Don't be future oriented. You buying Trump Towers, probably unlikely. Maybe, probably not. So be reasonably ambitious, because if a year goes by and you can see, wow, I'm kind of living this lifestyle, wow, will that give you confidence? And if you can't feel that momentum because you placed it, too far out, then you'll be like, oh, this sucks, it doesn't work. And what are you going to do? You're going to feel down on yourself. Okay, so there's a very careful dance between not bringing your self-limiting beliefs and holding on too tight, but also not going, too far over your skis. Um, and although some of you might be thinking like, Peter, how will I ever know that? Get really honest with yourself. Could I honestly achieve something like that? You know what? I could. If I did this, and that, I got a little lucky, I could really do that. Those are the types of things to put on your vision board. Okay. Now, it's up to you how you display your board. You could do a collage. That's what I did. You could have real life images, drawings, cartoons. I don't care. As long as it looks and feels like the way you want your life to be. Your empowered life. What does that look like? What are the elements? And most importantly, where are you going to put it so you see it every day? I have mine right on my dresser drawer. I like pick up my watch and my wallet, and I have to look at it. And that's how I know over the course of the last 18 months, I've looked at it and I'll scan it and go like, wow, God, I did that. I did that. Yeah, I'm actually doing that. Wow, I actually am doing that. I didn't know it would come in this form. That's fascinating. It's like those types of things. Like, oh, I met that person and that's how I achieved that. How lucky was that? And so it's really cool. And also, don't split out and have multiple boards. Don't have like a work board and a family board, and don't do that. Like you don't have 5 minds. So make one board. It could be big. It could be, mine's like 8.5 by 11. That's it. Put everything on there in a collage. And it's sort of ordered by like my works on top, and then like my personal life, and then down to like fun and travel and cool stuff that I want to do someday. And like it has that sort of top. How I've done it, I'm not saying you have to do it this way, is if I get this, it'll lead to this and then to that. Like that works for my brain. Maybe you want to go the other direction, or maybe you want it smattered all over. It's all mix and match because your life is just going to be 5 years, maybe 7 years. Try not to go 10. I would much rather you set 3 to 5 year boards and revise them every 2 to 3, 4 years. I have found in others that works better. for the reason I stated. If it's too far out, you're going to stop looking at it, you'll lose interest, and you lose sight of kind of the empowered life that you want to live, which is the whole point of creating this thing in the first place. Does that make sense? All right, so keys, get honest, okay? You typically know what you want, and you typically know what you think is realistic and achievable. Like, you know, okay? If you truly don't know, be like, Peter, I really don't know, then you are coming up with excuses to cover up who you are, what you really want, and what you know it'll take to get there. Go back to earlier lessons, go back to do not pass go, do not collect $200, but do watch the whole thing about core values and getting honest, because I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Either you don't know what goes on the board because you're going too far out and you're fighting because it's not realistic, or you do really think it's realistic, but your self-limiting beliefs are sabotaging you. In which case, go back to the lessons on sabotage. Okay. As I said earlier, make it a true snapshot: business, family, personal, mix, fine. And the thing is, anyone should be able to look at your board and recognize two things: who you are and what you want to achieve. You know, if I gave you my board, you'd be like, oh, that's the lifestyle you want to live. Oh, I can see some big goals you want to achieve. Oh, I can see kind of these icons of what's important to you. I think that one's this and that's that. That's health. That's time related. Like, yeah, okay, cool. You know, you can kind of get a snapshot for how I want to live my life. And that's what, you know, I should be able to, if you gave me your board, I should be able to kind of tell what's important to you. If it's too abstract, then that's okay, as long as you really can look at a picture and know exactly what it means. But my recommendation is, don't make it that much work for yourself. Make it easy on yourself by being a little more explicit. And to that end, it could be words, phrases, photos, drawings. It doesn't matter. It just needs to make you feel inspired to achieve. Okay, it's about a look and a feel. All right. If you feel inspired about it, you're gonna get that momentum I talked about. You feel good. You're gonna move forward. You're gonna do more things. You're gonna check more of those boxes. It really, I'm telling you, this shit works. I mean, I am shocked to be sitting here saying these words to you. I really am, but I don't know. It's been amazing for me. All right, cool. All right, good. We're flying because we got a lot in this class. All right, let's talk about motivation. Okay. If you have any questions about vision boards, pop them in. Let me know, because that was a lot. Joel, you've never done a vision board? It is good stuff. I really recommend it. Just the exercise, especially at the end of this year, going into 2019, such a great exercise to like get down on your floor with all these pictures and put your life together. It's a lot of fun. And some of the things you include or end up not including might surprise you. You know, you may, because you're committing. Like, you're going to put something on a board, you're committing. So you may, have thought, wow, I want that Lamborghini, and then you get the picture and you cut it out and you're going to put it in, and you might look at it and look at your board and go like, is this what I really want? I don't think so. I really actually want something else. And so that's kind of interesting, when you have to choose, or you can't choose everything. Especially that's why I did an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I wanted to decide what I did not want and leave only the important things in. So Patricia, you love vision boards? I love vision boards too. Oh, Flora, I hope you do another one. Yeah. Did your granddaughter do one, Patricia? That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I think starting young is amazing. So, all right, cool. All right, so let's talk about motivation. Okay. Lots of the frameworks that we've covered so far are related to motivation, if you think about it. And the reason for that is a lot of the frameworks in this class are designed to make you feel better, more empowered, more clear. When you feel better, you're motivated to do better, right? And you wake up in the morning and you feel refreshed, you're going to go out in the world, kick ass. If you don't feel good, okay, then you're not going to do as well. Simple. But again, okay, this is all about acting as if, not faking it till you make it. We talked a lot about nature, natural rhythm, remember? So the question is, that gets to the heart of why you may or may not be motivated. What do you act as if in your life? or in your business right now, how do you act? In your life, how do you act in your business? Most people act like a fucking mess. They act like an emotional train wreck who has no idea what's going on. Like, have you ever, like, you have a friend or a family member and they're like flying off the rails with something, and you look at them and you're like, this person is an absolute mess. How does this person like do anything in their life? How did this person get through the mortgage process and buy a home or drive a car down the street without crashing into a telephone pole? Like, most people act as if they're just like out of control all the time. And guess what? They're right. Okay. And you know, a lot of the frameworks in this class are designed to make you just a more thoughtful human being, more conscious about the things that you're doing, the thoughts that you're thinking, the actions you're taking, the observations that you're making. So keep that in mind as we go through the following about goals, okay? Staying motivated is about goals, setting the right goals. We're going to talk about that. And the first thing you need to understand is how to break goals way down. The goals that you choose for yourself mean everything. That's why, like, I've talked a lot in this class about, you know, the Goldilocks effect. Not too hot, not too cold, just right, achievable, okay? Most people get this. They're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But they perhaps think it only applies to business, or worse, they think like the rule doesn't apply to them. No, I'm going to be the one to be a billionaire. All right, good luck. And so most people never thoughtfully understand how goals like even work outside of business. And motivation, by the way, starts in here internally, not in your business. So, you know, I'm reminded of Navy SEAL who wrote a book. His name is Jocko Willink. And one of he has a first goal every morning. He's like one goal he does every single day, and that is to make his own bed. It seems small, right? But what he's tapping into is, if I get out of bed and I make my bed, goal number one is achieved. I can check that off. And what is he doing? He's building momentum, right? I'm already achieving one goal for the day. Here I go, okay? And few people ever think about like their daily rhythm and all the goals that could make you feel really good about making progress that day. You know, when have you ever asked yourself, like, what is your noontime goal? Or what are some of the goals you have before you go to sleep at night? Like, people don't think that way. And yet it's so powerful to getting yourself into the mindset of thinking about goals and achieving a ton of goals. The more goals you achieve, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more motivated you are. The more motivated you are, the better goals you set. The better goals you set, the more you achieve, and so on and so forth, okay? Furthermore, there are two types of goals, okay? And we're going to talk about both. We're going to talk about actual goals, and we're going to talk about a special type of goal called a motivation goal, okay? Have you ever heard of a motivation goal? Let me know. You may or may not have. Okay, so here's an example of an actual goal being broken way down into to-do tasks, okay? I would be shocked if every single person in this class watching this had their 3-year goals broken down backwards all the way to the things I have to do this week. And if you do, you are kicking ass, and that's incredibly awesome. And if you don't, in your next strategic planning session in your business, which should be this month because it's the end of the year, do this exercise, okay? This is what breaking down goals means. The 3-year goal, and these are made up, is I want to have 100 paying clients, okay? Well, what does that mean in 1 year? Okay, well, in 1 year I need to have 10 because I predict, that'll be the toughest part, and then from 10 to 100 will be a lot easier in this particular case. Maybe that's not the case for you. Don't be too ambitious, remember. That means in 3 months, I need to have 3 paying clients and a finished website, okay? Again, I'm making these up. That means in 1 month, I want to have a new logo and a winning pitch to get those clients and to know what I'm going to put on my website. In 1 week, okay, I need to hire a designer to create my logo, and I need 7 drafts of that pitch so I can pick one. Which means today, I need to put an ad on Upwork to find a designer. I need to brainstorm the words and phrases that might turn into a compelling pitch. And I may have a ton of other things I need to do. Obviously, this is one example. I didn't, spend a ton of time logically laying this out. I just want you to understand how you can and must go from that eventual goal, whatever it is, and work your way backwards. Okay. What gets measured gets done. If you're writing these goals down and you're measuring them and you're benchmarking, it is only a matter of time before you achieve them. It's not rocket science. If you write shit down, you write down a checklist and you go to the supermarket and you buy the stuff on the checklist, then when you come home, you will have all the stuff on the checklist. Not rocket science. And yet people don't think that far ahead. But if you're going to go cook out of a recipe, you're going to get the recipe, you're going to read it, you're going to write down the ingredients of what you need, you're going to take steps. You started at the end result, the food you're going to make, and you worked backwards. Okay? All I'm asking is for you to do this more thoughtfully in your business. So those are actual goals. Okay? The key is to write them down. Duh. Write them down in detail. Yeah, you probably know that. Write them down in detail where you can see them every day. Write them down in detail where you can see them every day so you can look at them every single day. Like, oh, are you getting this? Write them down in detail where you can see them every single day so you look at them every single day. Please. If you're not doing that, then it's like a pilot flying without looking at his instrumentation. Have you been on a plane? If you have, how would you like to know that the pilot flying hasn't looked down at his instruments in, I don't know, 4 hours? You might be a little scared. I'm scared when I encounter oh, there it is. What gets measured gets done. Okay? Start with the end in mind. Write your shit down, please. Please. Check it off, and you'll achieve your goals. Not rocket science, but I'm amazed at how many business owners do not do this. Okay? Please do it. Please. But that's not the interesting part. Okay? That was my kick you in the ass part. The much more interesting part is I want to talk about motivation goals. Okay? Motivation goals are mini goals that you set to trick yourself into doing shit. Very important, okay? So they're mini goals you set to trick yourself into doing things you know are important, but not necessarily urgent, okay? They're the things you might like, you know you have to do them, but you're like, nah, I don't have to do it because it's not urgent, so I'll delay it a little bit. They might be things you don't feel motivated to do. They might be things you keep avoiding doing, okay? This could be as complex as writing a book chapter or as easy as getting out of bed. Those are both reasonable personal goals. And I'm doing this and using quotes because complex and easy, that's all in your mind too, right? There's the fact, write a book chapter, and then there's how you feel about it, dread, or whatever, okay? And remember, we're going to start to dissociate those things through the facts, feelings, and wants exercise, okay? So that's kind of number one, all right? Facts, feelings, wants, all the time. Number two is motivation goals. Very, very critical. Because if you've ever struggled to get out of bed in the morning or do the tough thing you really have to do, and you're like, how do I just get more motivated? This is how. Set motivation goals, okay? For me, last year when I took a massive hit because I had a client leave, which was awful, there were times I woke up in the morning and I was like, I don't even want to get up. My bed's so comfortable. I'm warm. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to face the day, go to work. This sucks. I feel terrible. Okay. So I set a motivation goal for myself. I didn't have to get up and go to work. All I had to do was get to the couch. That's it. I had to go from the bed to the couch. That was my goal. And my fuzzy sleeping puppy was on the couch, and my remote controls were on the couch in case I wanted to watch the morning news or do whatever. And so I was like, that's not bad. I can get from the bed to the couch. And I did. And guess what? It got me out of bed. Once I was out of bed and on the couch, I was like, well, this is silly and I can't sit here forever, so I guess I'll do something productive. So I did the next motivation goal. And sure enough, got my ass out and into the world. And what happens? You know, by noon, I'm like, all right, I got out of bed. It's fine. Like, yeah, I'm going through my day. This wasn't so bad. But in the morning, man, I was like, oh, sucks. Okay. You ever had something like that happen to you? Same thing with writing my book over the past year. I'm like overwhelmed. Like I had to write this whole book. Like, what am I going to do? Okay. So instead of getting overwhelmed about the book or even overwhelmed about a chapter, I said to myself, here's my daily goal. My daily goal is to open my laptop, open the Word file, and write the first sentence. That's all I have to do. Then I'm done. Okay. And the first day I did. And I was like, ha, I did it. And the second day I did. And I was like, well, I wrote one sentence. I may as well write two. And the third day I did. I was like, well, I wrote one sentence. I'm sitting here. I got my coffee. I may as well, maybe I'll stop at a paragraph. I didn't. I wrote the whole chapter. Okay. Motivation goal, tricking myself to getting there. If you're in a sales situation, you got to make a sales call, sales email, don't bother. Pick up the phone. That's it. Pick up the phone, dial the first digit. Then your task is done. Hang up and go about your day. If you do that every hour, every day, eventually you'll be like, this is silly. I'm just going to follow through. Okay. This is the psychology of momentum at play. It turns out that people have a very strong bias called the sunk cost fallacy. And it goes like this. If you have put, and we see this with gamblers all the time, right? They bet $100 and $100 and $100. Now they're down $300. They're like, all right, well, my luck can't be bad all night. It was bad, for the past 5 hands. Well, now all I have to do is put 300 down on this one. I know it's a lot, but the odds are in my favor because I was really bad luck, and now they have to turn around. So I'll do better on this one, and of course they lose even more money, and so on and so forth. This happens with projects. People get invested into projects, and they pour hundreds and thousands of dollars in. Then they're like, well, I've already invested all this. I got to keep going. When probably the thing they should do is cut bait and get the hell out of there. So because of the sunk cost fallacy, if you can convince yourself, get into just the first step of the momentum chain, okay, odds are likely that you will be like, all right, well, I'm already doing it, so I may as well keep going. Tap into that subconscious bias and just set one little motivation goal, okay? Otherwise, if you keep kind of fighting you're not wanting to get out of bed or whatever that is for you, if you're fighting your natural avoidance of whatever the task is, then you're always going to be fighting. You're fighting nature. We talked about natural rhythms. This is all about getting into your natural cycle, not fighting it. This is not as easy as saying like, oh, what do you mean you don't want to get out of bed in the morning? Just get out of bed. Not that easy. You're going to fight and fight and fight unless you can set some motivation goals for yourself and just tap into this psychology of momentum. It's a cool trick. I really encourage you to try it. Works great with children if you have kids. Pro tip. Oh, wow. Okay. I thought this would take a lot longer. But that is part 3, mastering your mindset. We talked about the law of attraction. We talked about affirmations, okay, and getting too far over your skis, setting them just right. The things that should be naturally true, but that you're fighting, right? That's where your affirmations come from. We talked about vision boards, getting the look and feel of your life within that 3 to 5 year time horizon, okay? And then we talked about motivation, actual goals, working backwards, having specific motivation goals so that you're not running up against your natural aversion to something, okay? Very, very important. So yeah, that was a lot. There's a lot of frameworks I tossed to you today. What questions do you have? Just reading. Oh, Flora, I'm glad you saw, yeah, speech with Jocko making his bed. Yeah, it's simple, simple. Patricia, it sounds like you mix in some motivation goals. That's key. I've got a ton of them. I've got them all woven all throughout my day. Not ashamed to admit they help. What else we got? What other questions do you all have? Questions? Questions from frameworks of the last classes? Questions on some of the frameworks in this class? How do I remember all this? Well, in my life, I remember all of it because I've had to learn it all the hard way. And fought against instituting many of these frameworks in my life. And then once I did, I've been so much happier, so much more enlightened, so much able to serve others. If you remember, those are a couple of my big core values. And as far as remembering it when I'm doing this actual presentation, no, I don't have notes, Patricia. No, I just kind of, I don't know. I go off bullet points well, actually. So yeah, I mean, I know this stuff like the back of my hand. That's kind of why I'm teaching it. So oh, Flora, awesome. You're gonna reactivate Pinterest, and yeah, Pinterest is a great place to assemble, stuff for your vision board. Really great. Yeah, I think that's great. Michelle, how clear do your law of attraction affirmations need to be? Can you make them too specific? Well, let me know if you're thinking of one in particular. If any of you are thinking about, well, I wonder if this affirmation would work, run them by me, either here or you can email me if you'd rather be more private. That's fine. Certainly, if you haven't booked your 20-minute call, you could use that for it. But as far as, can you make them too specific? I don't think so. I don't think I've ever seen an affirmation that was too specific. I'm trying to think of, I can think of an example of too specific. I think too specific is only bad if it's not realistic. Like I am not going to, no, can't use not, right? If you were like, I'm committed, no, that's not right. Yeah, I can't think of one that's too specific, but now I'm interested to be proven wrong. That'd be interesting. Amy, I've known people who are using all these things and never get anywhere, and this explains why. Great clarification. Yeah, Amy, I mean, that's the thing about this stuff, right? I've seen people use this stuff, but they haven't taken the time to like understand them. Here's okay. Hold on one sec. Okay. Oh, boo. Hold on, let me go back. Because this is really important. If you're sitting there wondering to yourself, like, why is it that everyone's talking about this and everyone's using it, but everyone sucks, right? Here's why. Look at where we started, okay? We started with understand your mindset and understand yourself. There's a reason for that. Most people jump in to using these tools, and it's like giving someone, it's like giving any of you, any mechanics here? It's like giving a non-mechanic like a complicated diagnostic tool and be like, go diagnose that car. They don't have the knowledge and the education to be able to use the tool that they're being given. And in this case, because this is a mindset tool, these are mindset tools, they're only going to work if you understand your mindset and understand deeply, who you are on this basis of honesty and so on and so forth. You can't just dive in and slap together a vision board or be like, I'm gonna a law of attract cure myself of a terminal disease. I mean, listen, maybe you can. There have been studies about the power of mindset in doing so, but that's really kind of a misuse of what these things are intended to do. All this stuff is intended to do is to make you feel more empowered. Because if you can feel just 1% more empowered, that's going to just like escalate and grow. That's an exponential function. So, that's the idea of this stuff. Yeah, understand yourself first. Most people that use these tools have no idea who they are. And you know this, and if you've been listening and observing others, as I asked you to do from the first class, you may have noticed that a lot of people are not confident in who they are. And the way that shows up is in the rapid fire way in which they bounce around from thought to thought, from project to project. They're like searching for the right answer all the time or the magic bullet. Those are the dead giveaways of people who are not comfortable with who they are. People who are comfortable with who they are act as if, right? Act as if they are empowered, successful, and going in the right direction. And if that's true, there's no reason to bounce around. There's no reason to be unsure. So that's a critical thing. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, Patricia, expiration on the 20-minute call. Please book that before the end of this year. Just because my schedule gets really busy, I knew that some of you would be taking advantage of that. I hope you do. And so like that works in my schedule. if you wait too long, it becomes more likely that you might get bounced. And I don't want to bounce you once you've booked in. So sooner is better. I think that said, I think my calendar goes out 45 to 60 days, something like that. All right, Inga, I'm interested in how our natural rhythm interacts with our motivation. Yeah, is this something you personally consider when deciding where to place your goals throughout the day? Sure is. I think some goals like getting up might be obvious that it would go in the morning, maybe those in other areas. Inga, 100%. Yeah, and I talked about this in the last class, that when you set goals that are against your natural rhythm, you're just going to avoid them. You're never going to do them. Like that's don't go against nature. Don't fight nature. So to your point, I used to power through my day because I was ignorant. I just didn't understand this stuff, and I would, kind of take the morning more relaxed, and then by mid-afternoon, I had all my work to get done. So I would do it, and I'd be sitting there just like miserable. I couldn't concentrate as well, but I never like consciously thought about, oh, maybe like I should do a lot of the like computer work, thoughtful work in the beginning of the day, so that at the end of the day I can have meetings and talk to people and be more social. That's what works for me. So I restructured my entire day. And since then, I have no problems. And since then, I've also learned that it's very difficult for me to get up and start my day immediately. I need like 60 to 90 minutes to like get up and maybe like read or watch TV a little bit and like have coffee and pet my dog and just like get into the day. I hate waking up and being overwhelmed with stuff to do. It sets me a little off kilter for the whole rest of the day. That's something I've observed. So I made a micro decision, and now I have changed my morning around. Now I'm in a natural routine, and I feel great about it. And what's interesting about that is when I first changed it, what do you think happened? I felt guilty. I was like, I'm like sitting here, shouldn't I go to work and be productive and do that? No, relax. I had to relax. And I had to remember that, like, am I going to achieve everything I need to achieve today? Yeah. If I achieve everything today, is that going to add up to my 1 month and 6 month and 1 year and 3 year goals? Yep. So that's it. There's the fact. My feeling has nothing to do with changing those facts. And what do I want? I just want to enjoy my morning. So that's what I'm going to do. Joel, do you recommend a book that will help us more? Yes, I have a great one coming up in class 4. So stay tuned for that. Oh, Michelle, I'm glad to hear you felt empowered today. Wonderful. Yeah, Amy, couldn't agree with you more. Shocked by how many people have no idea who they are. I think a more appropriate way to say that is, and this is for me personally, I'm shocked by how many people are fighting against who they are. That if they just accepted it, just would be a lot clearer and happier. And they're fighting it. They want to be someone else so badly. And, for those of you who are old like me, that the grass is not always greener. It may seem so, but as I get into my old age, I'm reminded of that over and over and over, that I'm good. I'll stay me. I like me. Back to the very first class. Are you proud of who you are? That's rule number 1. Okay. Michelle, I used to tell my kids I stopped being mom at 10 p.m. None of my kids expect me to be anything but relaxed and doing me after 10 p.m. That's amazing. Like, that's awesome. I really, really respect parents who draw those lines, because many don't. And they're just like strung out and tired and miserable. It's like, no, you're a person too. You need time to do you and be you. So I love that. That's great. Inga, I think that's huge. I have daily goals, but have not been paying attention to my rhythm. So I've experienced a level of guilt if I didn't accomplish them. I hear you, Inga. I hear you. My day isn't set up right. Yeah. Listen, I worked, it was 10 years in the working world before I realized that I had set up my day wrong. I mean, what a silly thing. We talked about how like society sets the day up, most likely against your natural rhythm. And maybe it's perfect for you, but for me, that was a huge, and one of those things is like, oh, I have control over that. Oh yeah, I guess I can do anything the fuck I want with my day. And that's what's so funny about some of this mindset stuff that I hope you've realized is that so many of us, I've certainly been guilty of this, try to control things we can't control, and the things we can control that are right in front of us, we just choose not to and take for granted. No wonder we feel out of control all the time. Okay? Take the things you can control and control the shit out of them. That's going to put you in control. All right. What do we get? Yes, yeah, but Patricia, that's awesome that you were able to finally become an entrepreneur and set that up. That's why we start our own businesses, right? I mean, why else? Heather, for our core values, can they be things we desire or things we currently are? Your core values are things you are, things you stand for. That makes you you. The reason for that is because what I was saying earlier, I invite you to accept you. And I hope you take that invitation seriously. That this class is inviting you all to be who you are and be proud of who you are. And per my point to, I was talking to Amy or Inga, the struggle against who we really are is often our biggest self-limiting belief. So I certainly don't want that to play into your core values, which are so fundamental to everything else that we're doing in this class. And that's why I encourage you to sit with them and ask yourself, is that one true? Is that one true? Is that who I wish I was? Is this who I really am? Remember, these aren't negative things either. So, these are positive things you believe. Remember mine were passion, enlightenment, service to others, velocity, right? I believe in doing things quick, moving forward in a direction quickly. Speed's important to me. So, accountability, also extremely important. When people are not accountable, drives me nuts. And that's a good way for you all to uncover some of your core values is what are the things that get under your skin? Like injustice kills me. So, justice could have been one of my core values. It's not, well, it is, but it wasn't one of my top 8, which is why it's not in my hierarchy, but it's certainly important to me. There are plenty of other things important to me, punctuality, happiness, that are important to me. They're core values, but they weren't in my top 8. Because that's the whole reason we do a hierarchy is, really ask yourself, what's more important than the other? Interestingly, okay, more background on core values if you care, which you probably don't. When you meet, we talked about meeting someone else who has different core values and how that can be, really contentious. What's even more interesting is when you meet someone who has similar core values in different orders, okay? So let me give you an example. You may have 2 core values hierarchies, okay? Let's say yours has truth above friendship, and the other has friendship above truth. Well, let's say that you found something out about your friend that was terrible, okay? And you feel maybe compelled to tell them. Well, the person who put friendship first probably isn't going to tell them. Like, no, I'm going to preserve the friendship. That's more important to me. The person who holds truth as more important is going to say, no, I need to be honest. The friendship will survive. Honesty and truthfulness is the most important thing. You're going to make decisions, and this is a class about decision making, okay, very differently depending on the order in which you put your core values. So those are good tests for you, Heather, and everyone else, that once you've assembled your hierarchy, look at it and put some situations on it. Like, okay, well, can I think of a situation in which like this would happen and it would, influence what I do, or where would I prioritize that particular core value? It's a good mental exercise for you to go through. Oh, wow, it's 8:35. All right, what other questions do we have? What other questions? If there are no more questions, I can start to wind it down. Sorry, I almost choked and died during this hour. That was not intentional. Choking is not one of my core values. Neither is dying. All right, well, if I have no more questions, that is class number 3 is wrapped, folks. Amazing. Next class, we are going to learn what The Matrix, the movie, can teach you about your life. I'm going to give you an incredible book resource that has changed the way I think about decision making and happiness and success. I know you're going to love it too. Some of you may have already read it. Think back through some of these frameworks, use them, okay? Observe others. Try to observe how obnoxious other people are. I'm serious. And then ask yourself, am I that obnoxious? You know, do I have a blind spot that big? What do people think when they observe me? This is going to make you such a more enlightened and empowered person. You'll be shocked, okay, once you gain that level of self-awareness. All right, folks, I'm going to send you these slides in a moment here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, and I will see you on the next go-around. Thanks.